Hi, this is Dodger and you're watching my show. You know, when I started getting ready to film, it was daytime. It's not daytime anymore. I spent I don't even know how long trying to get this lav to work because apparently most people don't shout talk. So all of the settings were made up for a much quieter person, and I kept not being able to figure out why it was peaking but not showing up on the thingy as though it was peaking, and I was like, why? And the stuff wasn't saying that I was peaking unless it was really loud, and but I think we're good. Look, I'll be happy as long as I'm not fuzzy peak talking, and as long as you can hear me. If I'm anywhere in the middle there, we can work with that. Our first piece of news today is about a publisher, Namco Bandai, or as it is better known in Japan, Bandai Namco. Now, Bandai Namco has realized that it's a little bit confusing to be considered Bandai Namco in Japan and Namco Bandai in America, or the Americas. So they've decided to officially make it Bandai Namco across the board, all over the world, unified branding. I think the thing that is the most confusing to me is why they were called different things in different places in the first place, because typically, whoever was the company that put more into it would be the first name, right? So why was it flip-flopped in different areas? Maybe one had more control in different areas than the other? I mean, they merged in 2005, so that's not quite 10 years, but that's still 8 years. 8 years of being different names. I do have to say though, I think that Bandai Namco does not quite roll off the tongue as easily as Namco Bandai does, but maybe that's just because I've been saying Namco Bandai for so long that it comes out a lot easier, so saying Bandai Namco feels like a mouthful at this point. Maybe there's a mid-ground. Maybe it could be Bandco Namkai. I'm willing to push for that. Dong Nguyen, the creator of the weird sensation Flappy Bird, has announced that he's actually going to be taking Flappy Bird down. I actually didn't play it. I haven't played it at all. I didn't even know what it looked like until people started talking about it a whole bunch, and then there were screenshots and I was like, I don't know what this is, it looks weird. But the interesting thing is that he's claiming he's not taking the game down because he's selling it, nor is he taking the game down because of legal issues. So why is he taking it down? Just a couple of days ago, people were talking about how much money he makes per day, and it's out of control. It's so much money. So I don't really understand why he would pull it unless it is for legal reasons, which he has used a lot of imagery that could be construed as imagery that does not belong to him. Apparently it's not for legal reasons. I don't know, it's not for legal reasons. Apparently. So what could it be? It's okay, it's whatever. People are already making so many clones of the game, and I'm sure he's made enough money to just invest it and live forever. Isn't that sad? He just made so much money, in mere days. In mere days, he's already Scrooge McDucking real hard. Okay, I'm gonna be honest, in this piece of news I have to say a name that I can never confidently say. I took I don't know how many years of French, and I'm assuming it's a French name, but I don't know. Yves Guillemot? That's my best attempt. So this piece of news is about Watch Dogs and Ubisoft because earlier the US Patent and Trademark Office was like, yo, so you don't want Watch Dogs anymore? I mean, it's signed by you. And Yves Guillemot was like, no, huh? We never said we didn't want Watch Dogs. What are you talking about? So the US Patent and Trademark Office apparently got a forged request for abandonment of the Watch Dogs title and franchise, which is very strange, because apparently that just does not happen. So now everybody there is like, I don't know what happened. This isn't you? Are you sure this isn't you? Because we have a thing with your signature. It's been very strange. I mean, obviously it would have been strange to begin with if they were like, yeah, we don't want that anymore. But just the fact that that went all the way through and they didn't even catch it until they got a notice being like, hey, your request for abandonment totally went through. And they were like, no, huh? So it got quite a ways into the process. And it's been reversed now, by the way. Watch Dogs belongs to Ubisoft again. No panicking. But somebody figured out how to crack the system. I was thinking about this earlier while I was reading all of the articles about this. This was actually a couple of days ago. I was thinking about how interesting it is. It's obviously people who are part of the forums, are part of the community, and see how much we all freak out when things are registered as trademarks, when trademarks are dropped. It can be in any country. We'll always catch it, and we always freak out. And it's starting to be taken advantage of, which is a silly way to put it because we shouldn't jump to those conclusions anyway. But I think that it's really interesting how somebody can just make it appear as though a patent or a trademark has been made, and we'll jump to all sorts of conclusions and make wild speculations, and then the company's like, we didn't do that. But now members of the community are able to just watch us squirm. They're able to just make these things happen and then just sit back and be like, you guys want to freak out? Do it. I kind of like it though. I like it because now we have to question whether or not to freak out, you know? We can't just fly off the handle. There's always going to be that moment where we have to think to ourselves, is this real? I don't think this is real. But then it could be circular, and then the companies will start being like, oh, it's fine, they won't believe it. They'll think that some dude did it, but we actually did it. This is perfect. So there's a game that I've been hearing a lot about. I actually feel like I've been hearing about this before the Kickstarter ever started, but they're kickstarting it right now. It's called Nevermind, Biofeedback Horror. And basically the idea of biofeedback when it comes to games is you have something strapped to your body that will measure, like say your heart rate, measure your anxiety, and then the game will adjust accordingly. So this game is meant to be your perfect horror game. You start off and the game is kind of fishing to figure out what it is that causes you anxiety, and then it will adjust according to what it sees you respond to the most. As somebody who loves horror games, I love just being freaked out. I love thriller movies, I love thriller games, I love horror movies, I love horror games. So the idea of this, like a game that will notice that you never go down the dark alley, and then will make the game progressively darker, or notices that you're scared of drowning, or notices that you're scared of spiders, and will just create situations that are terrifying to you. I think that that's really interesting. But there's something else about it that I find even more interesting, and it's more why I wanted to talk about it. So Aaron Reynolds used to work for Zynga for a long time, and then branched off and did this project. It's more of a passion project, what Aaron actually wants to do. And I found it really interesting because she was saying that not only would this be a very unique horror experience, but she feels like it's something that could really give back to the player, because it could help you understand yourself better, understand what scares you, maybe help you become a stronger person or figure out how to deal with stress. And I think that that is a very interesting way of looking at it. Like, I would say that there have been situations where I've played a horror game and maybe something never used to scare me, but now that I have a specific image from this game in my mind, that now scares me, right? Like, say, bugs. It wasn't until you saw a giant form of a certain bug that suddenly that bug is terrifying. And I think that that is common. But the idea of being forced to interact with and deal with something to the point where you have to just deal with your stress and move on, I think is very, very interesting. And also the fact that the game, depending on how much you're freaking out, will get harder. So you literally, it's like, guys, it's like Divergent. Okay, I was thinking about this. It's like in Divergent when they have to face all of their fears, and the only way that they can move on in the exercise is to face the fear or stop freaking out about the fear, right? It's like the exact same thing. So I was thinking about it and I was like, man, how do you do that? Like, if you actually are terrified of drowning, how do you slow down your heart rate while you're in a room that's filling up with water? Like, how do you do that? Either way, I'm excited to see what they do with it. I hope that it goes well. I hope that you get kickstarted, etc. I just realized that my Kuroko wig is just like hanging out here. It's just like, oh hey, I don't have a head. To any of you who are currently playing Rust, there was an update that took away the zombies, you might have noticed. It's interesting because this update made it so that the wildlife was a bit more dynamic, like reacted to certain things in better ways, and all of the animals were much more diversified in how they interacted with the environment and all of that. But then all of the zombies were replaced with bears and wolves. Why did they do that? I don't know. They said they're working on a thing and that they know that it's irritating and that it'll all be fixed. But I thought that that was very strange. Actually, my first reaction was, oh, they're ditching the zombie thing. They're just gonna let this be survival. Like, every man for himself survival, no zombies involved. And I thought that that was actually pretty awesome, but then I realized, no, the zombies are coming back. They also fixed some bugs and made it so that crafting is a lot faster if you're at a workbench. So those are good things. Dynamic wildlife, fixing the bugs, all that. Zombies are just gone. Not important. And as a final bit of news, something that has been drama all week. So the Resident Evil composer, Samuragochi, has been known for a while as Japan's Beethoven because he continued composing music even though he went deaf. Very recently, he admitted that since 2006, he has been using a ghostwriter, but he made sure to say, you know, I've been coming up with the pieces, I've been, you know, very creatively involved, but I've had someone help me actually put the music together. So like, you know, we've been writing together, but he didn't want anybody to know. You know, there were very specific reasons he didn't want anyone to know. So, you know, I just said that I was the only one who did them. So everyone was like, oh, well that kind of sucks, but I guess if you're, you know, if you're still like involved, if you're still doing it, I guess the pieces were still made and they're still great, so it's not a huge deal. Then the web got stickier. That was weird. That was a weird way to put that. So then a music teacher named Tagashi Nigaki came forth and was like, I am the ghostwriter. Not only that, but he claims that Samuragochi isn't even deaf. He claims that Samuragochi wasn't involved in the writing process at all, that he was the ghostwriter, that he was not allowed to quit, and that whenever he wanted to, Samuragochi threatened to commit suicide, which is very extreme, and that he's not deaf, and has admitted to playing deaf because that's what was expected of him, which is very weird. I can't remember why Nigaki decided to come forward now. I think it's because there is somebody in the Olympics who is using their music, and he was like, okay, come on now. It wasn't, he didn't write this, you know, which is, I'm sure is very frustrating. And he's been silenced for many years. I don't know all of the details. I don't think anybody knows all of the details, but there was a huge press conference with him. There was a huge press conference with Samuragochi. So who even knows? Who even knows what's real, what's not real? Either way, it has been confirmed that a ghostwriter was involved. Whether or not it was Nigaki has not been confirmed, but it's pretty crazy. It's been drama bombs all over the place. Anywho, that is my show. Thank you so much for watching. If you have a positive or a negative response, feel free to leave it in my comment section. And if you would like to have coffee with me, you can click wherever I put the annotation and it'll take you to my other channel. But otherwise, I hope you guys had an amazing day and an amazing week, and I will talk to you again next Saturday. Okay, bye-bye. Mwah. That was weird. That was a weird way to put that.